Meeting to order at 7 PM.
$75?
We'll take roll call. Page.
He's here.
He's here.
Krieger.
Here.
Denke.
Here.
Iverson.
Here.
Gasky.
Here.
Sorensen here. Vanderbrink is excused. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mark.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jonathan. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We have no public comment. All right, Doug has provided a secretary's report for both June and a revised report for May, but we will approve the June report. You approve the May report.
I just give you the corrected,
Yeah,
because
yeah, it's okay.
I do it because I want you to all know I'm not perfect, so you'll feel comfortable.
Well, thank you. So I will entertain a motion to approve the June minutes. I was not here, so I don't know. I heard it was 40 minutes.
I so move.
Thank you, Tom.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mark. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okey dokey. Moving on to the treasurer's report. Review accounts payable and the treasurer's report. That's in your packet. And it looks to me like we're doing good. We finished the first 6 months at 50% for our revenues. And I'm trying to see how my printer was acting really oddly today. Are there any questions about the payments or?
What was Rennert's there?
For the truck?
Tank to home
Engine 16,
cities.
yep. No, it's the city's front line, first one out.
And what was the matter with it?
It needed to be rebuilt. Some of the seals were out of the, and then the air dryer needed to be rebuilt. The per job, actually that was on 14. So is this bill just for 14 on runners, or is it for 16 also? Because the air dryer
I
kept,
thought it was for 14.
That was just for 14,
That
16
was
will
for
be in this
14.
next.
that'd be 14, not 16, sorry.
Is there just an accounting thing for the,
Yep.
yeah.
We've got it, the revenues, we have half of the fire protection fees, which it's not showing. Right here.
Oh, yep, okay.
But we do have our expenditures are just a tad under 50%. So yeah, we're still, Heather and I talk about that one. But, fire call charges are ahead, so we're getting those reimbursed to us. Fire inspection fees, I'm not sure why the actual's 100. Don't we get that from the city in the first half? Right here.
I think some of it is from, we had the section 8 housing, so we build them right away.
Oh, so we're still waiting for the city to, oh, probably people have to pay the second half of their taxes, property
Well,
taxes.
No, the city pays us at the end of the year, they just pay us and then they get the money from the taxes. So they pay that, so we won't get that
Oh,
money
until-
until towards the end of the year.
Oh, okay.
because it's for the next year, yes. 'cause
Okay.
We send out the bills to everybody for
Okay.
their taxes.
All right,
And then the city just pays us and then they collect
okay. And you're gonna bill for the balance of the municipal fees?
the tax. Yep, it'll be done
Okay.
the next week.
Any questions? All All those in favor of approving the accounts payable and treasurer's report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay.
I'm sorry, back up. Who made a motion to accept it? I'm sorry.
Who made the mo, did I, okay, would someone like to make a motion?
I so move.
Thank you, Tom. And who's seconding it?
I'll second.
Gary. Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay. Moving on, Heather would like to ask for a new account.
Yeah. Engineer Cooper, does a lot of work on the vehicles and stuff, and, he's finding that he would like to price compare, and he's comparing that, O'Reilly's is better on some parts than Napa with the pricing, so he was wondering if we could open up an account at O'Reilly's, so that he could charge to, he can get parts and then just kinda like we do at Napa.
It would be the same concept as Ace and Napa, where they have to identify themselves. And only maybe maybe Cooper's the only person who can charge, so that we don't have multiple people charging at the account.
I'll make a motion that we can start an account at O'Reilly's.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I'll
Is there,
second that.
thank you, Gary. Further discussion?
Sounds like a good idea to price compare, so it seems like an easy
You have an
thing
account.
to do, yeah.
If you have an account, you can get stuff a little cheaper.
Yep.
Something more.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Chief's report. May calls for service,
June call.
or June calls, I'm sorry.
So you got the list in front of you there, the May calls, or June calls, sorry. See what you did? So June, we're in June. On the back side, you'll see there's one extra up that didn't fit on the front page. So a total of 25 for the month. 14 of those were during the day. No rapid response calls. Mutual aid 2. Year-to-date 12, and mutual aid responses 4.
And you're 63 calls ahead of last year at the end of June?
Yep.
Wow.
35 of those were recurring cases, approximately.
Oh, yeah, approximately, so.
But those
We
are,
didn't have, yeah, those stopped as,
Yeah.
she moved.
yeah, she moved to a downstairs
Yep.
apartment. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Jonathan?
On the monthly report for the
Yeah.
fires.
Okay.
I was also, I'll brief a little bit on this report of the fires. I was at the Chiefs Association meeting last week, Thursday. Found that county has not had a MABUS division call out yet for all of last month. So, really good.
Is it because of all the rain, so it's not,
We're not really sure,
take it
but
though?
it's been very slow, so we're gonna take it, exactly.
Okay.
Also, I'll continue on here, the 2 new guys that we approved, they've been training really hard. Acting Captain Roy, he's our training officer, he's been working with these guys pretty hard to get them up to date. Yesterday we had training, we had our monthly training, it was yesterday.
I saw it on Facebook. You were
Yep.
doing, the new guys were doing the hydrants?
Yep. Prior to that though, before we went out and did hydrant hookup, they did gear. They had to be tested on gear, how fast they could get on in their gear on air and stuff. And they were doing it within a minute and 30 seconds.
And that's good?
That's good.
Okay.
So they passed that portion of it. And also we did hydrant hookup with those while the rest of the crew went out and did ladder placement. They threw ladders on buildings and did some stuff with that. They also did pass the hydrant hookup. So we are going to allow them now to start riding the rigs. And one of them has been riding already. The Stib kid, he's been running with us already. But they will be allowed to ride in the rigs and hook up hydrants only at this point. And when that is done, they will be the engineer's aid until instructed to do whatever we would like them to do. So, also we had some activities. Ripon Fest had their fireworks up at the park. It rained out Friday, so we had on Saturday. That was a success. I heard they had a good turnout for the fireworks. And then we also did the parade for the Ripon Fest on Sunday, and that was a much better attended parade than in the past. So thanks for everybody that helped out with that. Hopefully we can get our fireworks in, the city's fireworks on July 4th. We have a standby for that as well, so we'll be up at the park with that. Hopefully we can get in with the rain, you know, it never stops raining, so. And that is all I have.
No fire inspection update?
She's got that.
Oh,
Fire inspection update,
okay.
we're probably about 85%, with Tyler,
The first round?
yeah, with Tyler, leaving, probably maybe 90.
Yeah.
With Tyler leaving, the crews are working on them, it's just, Tyler had a way of doing them, and then he told everybody what to do, so now the guys are trying to catch up and trying to figure out exactly where he's left off. He hasn't been able to come in the last couple Fridays to help us out, so, so they're working on it, the guys went out today and worked on some, so we're hoping that, by the end of next week, we should be done with all of them, is what they're pushing for. And then we'll take a couple weeks off, and then we'll go back at it again, so.
Any questions? Okay, Chief Cool.
All right, thank you. So just piggyback on what Chief Howlett said is, and I was here for training last night, and it was really cool to see the interaction with the crews. Like I said, John Roy did a great job with the young kids, the two new guys. They had them, briefed them in here, then took them out and really spent a lot of one-on-one time with them, and then when they were done, came back in here and then went through a whole nother explanation, because there's, once you do that for the first couple of times, there's always lots of questions. So he did a really good job just being patient, asking lots of questions, really detailed, so it was pretty cool just to kind of stand back and watch him teach, and it was really good. The crews that were doing the ladder training, same thing. You saw a lot of teaching with some of the younger firefighters and showing different methods of, raising ladders, how to, the carries, loading them back on the truck. So it was really good to see that. And I think the core group that was here tonight, I see them the same, as I come down here a couple times a week. And so I think you have a really, really good core group of firefighters here, and then we just gotta build on it. And so part of the things that we worked on here this last month is we were able to put together a couple ads, one for the paid on call and then one for day staff. Put that out there, so Heather did get a couple requests for applications, so that's good. And I think the goal is, if we don't hear anything, again, we'll pound that ad again, we'll throw it out on Facebook, and if, the PD can share it, the city can share it, and the library can share it, or however many times it needs to get out there, we'll just keep pounding that ad, because if somebody only sees it once, and then it's not put back up there for a while, they kind of forget about it. But if we continue to, people see that, then, it's like.
You use the state website for.
Yep, we can do the state website also.
Okay.
I'm waiting for, when Fox Valley Tech opens back up again, to hit that when the classes start or prior to their.
How about the League of Wisconsin Municipalities?
Yep,
They have
we can post it on the league also, the tech colleges that are nearby, but because the Fox Valley Tech has the students that do the internships in the area and whatever, I think that's a good place to start to. And then I'm excited to when the high school opens back up, to get in the high school and see if we can get some of those cadets, because, sometimes when you can get into the schools in your hometown here, it may not be where they're off to fire school and then somewhere else. It may be they're a hometown kid and they're gonna stay here. Those are the firefighters that, become the core group on the fire department, whether they're, working at their parent's store or farming or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If they stick around here and they become the core, and they're here for, the 30-year guy or the whatever. So I'm looking forward to when school starts, so that we can go there and let them know what, Ripon Fire is all about and what they do for the community, so. Some of the other things we worked on, some of it is here tonight, you'll see we worked on some, standard operating guidelines. Some of it's just to update, some of it is, just the need to have, you know, some backup stuff if accident-wise and how to operate personal vehicles and things like that, so. And then we put a hose testing, guideline together, now there was one, but it's a updated one and it has a little more detail to it, so. As the crews start to do hose testing, it's two things. It helps with having them follow a plan, but it also helps us when they're jotting down the different holes that they test, and it's good for budgeting wise, because then, once they're done with it, then we know, hey, this hose failed, or hey, we don't have enough of this hose, whatever that looks like, we can be able to track that better for budgeting down the road, so. So we worked on that. I was able to respond to a few calls here in the last month, and so, for me, like, I don't, like, step in or anything like that, but for me, it's more of an observation, and so I've been taking notes, and when we have officer class here in the future, some of those things that we're working with John Roy and, like, developing officers, so that's been really good just to see. I have gone out on helping a couple of there was some sprinkler test questions, there was some fire alarm test questions up at the hotel here or the motel down the road here, so I worked on that. Heather and I worked with the library on some questions they had with some alarm, alarm company came in and requested some things to be updated, and we tried to help them out and save a little bit of money. Some of the things they were able to do with some maintenance people, so they just needed to have some direction on what they needed to do, so that worked out good. Also working with John, Captain Roy, about the training new hires, trying to put a manual together for them, a book, so we're working on that. Helping the maintenance shop, we kind of working with Chief Hollitz and Coop on getting that organized so that if there's small equipment or something that he can fix, then he'll have the setup that he needs instead of trying to find it or not knowing where it is. We're trying to put together a system, so lots of little things that, that in the end, we hope to, get a system down but things are going well, sometimes not as fast as you want them to be, but great group. I love coming down here, great group of people to work with and getting things done, so.
Good. Any questions?
I had a question on getting cadets from the high school.
Yeah.
Are there any municipalities that are doing just like a trial, like a 6-week, like, hey, or just even shorter, where you can say, hey, come down and we have certain things set up so you can see, X, Y, or Z?
Yeah.
Just because I know sometimes the question, you probably heard some of it when you were at the career fair where, high schoolers just don't know.
What they don't know,
they just,
right? Yep.
until you can kind of convince them or maybe, get them to come and look at it and see what it's all about, they just don't know. So I was just wondering if there's a plan or if you've seen anything that was along those lines.
Yeah, we had Chief and Harrison, same thing, you have a recruit day or something where they can come in and just check out the equipment, maybe show a little PowerPoint, what's involved, and get their hands on some tools and explain what things are. That's a great idea to not only just go to the high school and talk about it, they get to come down, and be able to see actually what some of those things are, what we do equipment wise, so yes, that's a great idea.
Anything else? Not, we'll move on to the association donation of equipment.
The association, the Firefighters Association, would like to take some of the money that they have raised and purchase, some equipment, and they would like to know if the district would, take over the maintenance on it once we buy it. What they're looking for is the auto crivets and a battery positive pressure fan. So the auto crivets, instead of having wood and everything, it's an automatic cribbing system that just kind of goes up to whatever height we need it. We're looking at 2 sets, one for an SUV and one for a car. So we have 2 different sets.
And those are right up there on the board.
So,
I still don't know what they mean, what that means.
Okay, so like when we have an accident, we have to stabilize the vehicle so it doesn't move and we're trying to extricate. So we put, right now, what we do is we take
2x4s.
wedges and stuff and 2x4s.
Oh,
and
under the
we shove it-
tires?
Under the
Oh,
We try to build it up so it
okay.
doesn't move. So this would kind of, it would be like a one
Okay.
and done type of thing. We could just put it in and it would go up to what height we need.
Jacks.
Yep,
Yeah, kind of,
Okay.
yeah.
high-tech,
But
high-tech jacks, that's self-deployed and they, as you raise the car, they automatically go with the car. So if the tool slips and falls out, it's not gonna come all the way back down. The auto cribbit will stop it.
Yeah.
So it's a one-man person, but that's on the board there with those two causes there.
Yep, and then they're looking at the M18 battery, the positive pressure fan. The reason they're looking at that is because in the new engine, we do not have a generator on it, so they thought we can't plug in the ones that we have, and then we also have gas-powered ones. They thought that the battery-powered ones, which we already have the M18 batteries for a bunch of other tools that we have,
Extrication tools.
so they thought that that would be a good purchase. So we'd have it for the new.
Doug has a
Oh,
question.
what's the fan for?
The fan is to pull smoke out of the building so we can see what we're doing, we can,
Or we had that hazardous material like subway,
Yep,
and we had to pull the fan out.
Subway has hazardous
no, well,
material.
they.
carbon dioxide,
Carbon-
and actually the
yeah.
CO,
Oh,
the
the
CO.
COAs, their carbonated machine was leaking.
We use them for carbon monoxide calls too,
Yeah.
where we can push the air through the house and get
But
the levels lower.
it's to ventilate the house.
And we used to have gas, back in the day, they were gas operated, and they were heavy and cumbersome, and then you had to worry about fumes, pumping fumes back into the building,
Maintenance.
and maintenance, yeah. And then we went to electric, but then now some of the engines don't have electric,
They don't
so
have
we don't have to
generators.
run a cord.
So, how long's the battery fan last? An hour? Half
Oh,
hour?
no, Cooper said it would run longer than that.
What do you say? I think it was like,
I'll bet they don't.
it was 2 hours, but we have like 4 or 5, we have at least 5, if not more, M18 batteries that we can switch out, then they can just get charged, they're rechargeable.
Okay,
So we bring them back, we put them back in the charger, they charge, and then we have them again for the next.
so the cribbit, that's battery too?
No,
No, it's
No.
just automatic.
That's spring loaded.
spring loaded.
Oh, okay, okay. So what kind of maintenance is required in that?
Nothing, I mean, nothing really,
Wash them off.
we're just, it's kind of like, we would like to purchase it and then donate it to the district, so it's just,
Okay, and the battery, how much are the, was it M18 batteries?
it comes with, I believe it comes with 2 batteries.
Yep.
And then we have others already purchased, so
Are they much money, $50, $100?
50 or 60 bucks. I
The
think.
batteries?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not-
People need any batteries for a while.
No,
Right.
probably.
But yeah, but I mean, it's not big maintenance, it's just a matter of, we'd like to purchase, the association would like to purchase some, and then we would like to donate them to the
The
district.
fan is $5,000.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not,
Guessing it's not a little toy fan.
it's not a thing you get from
It's
me.
an 18-inch diameter fan,
Yeah.
yeah.
You want a fan, you get a 40.
You can't fit that through a door.
So,
Yeah, you could, you push it through sideways.
And the same batteries that run our Jaws, the new battery operated Jaws, will fit in that fan as well, or vice versa.
Yep.
So a lot of our tools are chainsaws, electric chainsaws, and rigs on the same batteries. So they're all
Well,
interchangeable.
it's good to have the same,
Yeah.
because batteries will kill you. If you got too many, it's just more
Yeah,
junk.
different kinds.
Yeah, yeah, different kinds.
So you're requesting that we accept a donation of equipment from the association for up to $8,000? Because it comes out to $7,935.51.
Was it just some 200 or was it?
Yeah, that's all they voted on that
Yeah,
night.
the
We may be
SUV,
coming
the
back for
car,
more.
and the
Yeah,
battery
yeah.
thing. So it comes to
Yeah,
7,000.
7,900
It's,
yeah.
they
Just
want to
little-
contribute up to
Yes.
$8,000 worth of equipment.
Yeah. And we may be coming back with more than just what they voted on.
Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the acceptance of the donation from the association for up to $9,000 for the auto cribbit set and M18 battery operated positive pressure fan with 2 batteries.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jonathan. Any further discussion?
I guess I just had a question. You're saying you used to have a generator on board, so I'm assuming you had electric before, and now you're switching. I guess my question is, would it be better to accept the donation for a generator and go back to electric?
No, because then you have to have cords and everything, and then we have to have longer reels, and
So you'd
it goes
prefer
through
that?
the whole, yeah, it kind of, then we have to deal with the cords going through water and.
Okay.
With that, and the other thing is that the new engine that was built, if you were to put a generator in there now, you're gonna take up more space for
Costs
tools
more.
and cost more and all that stuff. So Pierce and everything is going down electric, battery operated stuff. So we opted to take that generator out of there.
Okay.
Engine 16 still has a generator in it, which we still have the old school lights on that as well. 18 has a generator with old school lights. Some of the stuff does still have the old stuff in it, old school stuff, but a lot of the departments now are going with all this new battery operated. It's much more user friendly and easier to maintain.
Okay.
And quiet.
And quiet too, yeah.
Because you can put the fan and you can have a conversation.
Compared with the gas
It's
engine
not
running.
gas engine.
You know, I'm sure prices some other places, that just seems.
We priced
ridiculous.
3 different, I think he got bids from 3 different places, and that's,
And that was a 5-year warranty on it too, wasn't it?
yeah.
Mark had a question.
Yeah, are there like a set of batteries that we keep, or are we gonna put like 2 or 3 batteries on each engine and cycle them out? And
They're there already.
They're there, yeah,
Yeah.
there's some on each engine.
And 18's got 6, 8 batteries in it.
Yeah.
That's like its main charging
Yeah.
system, port for everything.
So does
16 has
16.
them.
16,
16,
17.
because that's where the new Jaws is,
Yeah.
so.
Okay,
Yep. And engineer
He
Cooper,
always learns
We have
stuff.
work lights
Doesn't
too.
go long.
yeah, yeah,
Better battery.
and you just have your handful
Those
on there.
batteries, They can lay it for a long time. They don't get
Yeah.
charged.
Right.
yeah. Engineer.
Um, All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, and then we were sent 4 SOP, well, one's an SOG, and I think the others are SOPs, if I remember correctly. So I don't know who wants to take this.
Sure. Which one do you want copies?
Do you want mine?
Oh, we can have these.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I looked them over already.
Okay, good. So the first one we'll look at is reporting an accident. So put that one together, just had a minor issue here in the last month that was resolved with no issues, but realized there wasn't a plan for reporting even a minor, issue, whether you're responding in an apparatus or your own personal vehicle. I just wanted to make sure that if that occurs, there is, a method of people knowing what happened, and really it's for guidance for the person that it happened to. Like, you need to do this, you need to report it, all that stuff, and it really wasn't anything. So the only thing that we haven't put together yet, which is basically just filling out, is just the forms. So I have some copies of forms that, they'll be basic, but we'll put those together but the basic SOG is here. And again, really, and it spells out whether it's a personal, privately owned vehicle or if it's an apparatus from here. And you have to notify somebody if something happens, even minor. So that's really what this comes down to.
Would the board like to take these as a all total 4, or do you want to do them individually?
I just have a question, actually.
Sure.
Before we just to your question, because my only question relates to the hose testing. So can I ask you a question about the hose testing one?
Why don't we do that one next?
Yeah.
Let's do hose testing
Yep.
next.
So my only question is, you have the cutoff date, it's 1987?
Yes.
Anything before that,
Yes.
just throw away, don't even worry about it?
Correct.
But you don't have like a year going forward. So you're saying 37-year-old hose? How come you don't put in a date for like the future to say if a hose hits 30 years old, just throw it away?
Yeah, so that number, that is from the NFPA 1962, so
Okay.
that's the code, that's what they have in there now, so, and that could happen once that is updated, so typically, like every 5 to 7 years, a board of fire chiefs or whoever reviews those will review that, and they may, the next time it's updated, it might say 1995 or whatever that is, but currently, right now, it's 1987, yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve all four.
Do you wanna review the other two, too?
If anybody, I looked at them already, so that was my only question.
I've looked at them too.
If the chief just wants to give a quick overview on the remaining two.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. Again, we have the response in privately owned vehicles to, also just so that, when they're using their own personal vehicle, they understand that it's really the same law as if you were riding in an emergency vehicle. So, people driving through red lights or passing through stop signs, no, we're not doing that. We're obeying all traffic laws when you're in your privately owned vehicle. There's no lights on it, we have no sirens, no indicators. People don't know, that you're doing 45 and a 25 because you're trying to get to the station. We're obeying the same law as if you were driving, to the grocery store or whatever. So that's really what that one is for. Again, it's more of an awareness that this is how you should operate your personally owned vehicle. So, and they do not respond to the scene in them, only a duty officer or chief's approval, but typically it's responding from home down to here. But again, we're not driving 55 and through town here. You need to obey all the signs. So that was the goal of that one. And then lastly, the emergency response, non-emergency, again, that was already a current SOG, but I wanted to update that and to update any of the standards and codes. The big thing for me is making sure that, same thing, that even if you're an emergency vehicle and you have lights and sirens, you still need to obey the traffic. Making sure if it's a red light, you're not just doing 35 miles an hour through the intersection. You need to stop if it's a red light, check the intersection, and then proceed. The other thing, major thing for me is the backing of vehicles. So when a vehicle is being backed, when we have drive-through, but periodically they can be backed in or whatever they're doing, there better be a spotter behind it, because we don't need, you may have visitors here, you may have kids here, whatever it is, or even if we're out training, like last night. We need to make sure that there's people that are helping the driver back up, a 30-foot apparatus so that something isn't hit or run into. So this is more of an update than it is creating a new policy. This is just an update. So I just wanted to touch base on some of those more important things for safety reasons.
I just had 2 comments. For the personally owned vehicles, I think it's maybe different from some districts. They allow like red lights on personal owned vehicles, whereas our district does not.
Yes.
Which I think really does tie into making sure that everyone is following the law and obeying all traffic, because citizens out there don't know, even if you've got the plate or something on it, you just don't know. So that's good. And then I also saw the mandatory seatbelts, that, the driver is ultimately responsible, but then if there's an officer, they're also responsible. And I do agree that, getting belted before moving is pretty important. So.
Yeah, the new apparatus now, there'll be a buzzer going off if, that those seats are weighted, so if something, they'll say, hey, so-and-so is not, buckle up or whatever, but I think it shows, it shows, so, but yes, seatbelts definitely important.
Actually, I do have one more comment.
Tom had
Oh,
one.
sorry, no, go.
If somebody doesn't get to the station in time for the crew that's going out,
Yep.
what happens? Is there a follow-up vehicle that's available?
Yeah, so there's probably, depending on the type of call, they could be able to take another vehicle, or they wait until the duty officer says, hey, we need this or we need that, so they're just support role here then, until the crews get back.
Thank you.
The line right above the mandatory seatbelts, looks
You're
like
gonna
you just,
finish that up.
yeah.
Yes,
looks like you just cut
was that the
some
one we talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the one
Yeah,
yeah, chief caught that one.
it's it's just supposed to say, I don't have it in front of me, but,
Oh, I have it if you.
Oh, yeah, so.
it could be written, yeah.
If the spotter was available, this is the driver, operator, or off shall be written up if spotter was available, however, trying to think of what it was, the spotter, you talked about that earlier too. Written up if spotter was available.
They're in there.
That will have to be finished, I don't
It
remember
was
what.
supposed to be, driver operator, however, available in the spotter, however, the spotter was not used, is how it's supposed to end. So if there was a spotter available and they weren't used, then they're
Oh,
gonna get
yes,
written up
yes.
for it.
Correct.
So, cause like there's some times where there'll be only one person that'll be backing it up and there's nobody available here, cause they went and put fuel in or they didn't take it to runners or whatever, so, but no, most of the time we do have spotters, but every once in a while.
Okay, well, Jonathan made a motion to accept all four SOG, SOPs. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Tom. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Old business. So, approve revised policies and procedures and bylaws, but I apparently forgot to put that on there, so we'll have to put the bylaws on the next. So those went out, bylaws and policies and procedures went out mid-May to give the public 30 days to respond, or anyone 30 days to respond. We've had no responses. I didn't get anything, you didn't get anything. So I would ask, we've worked on these for months, so I would ask for a motion to approve the revised policies and procedures.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Gary. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Mark. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We'll have the bylaws on in August. Sorry about that. I'm still not, it takes a while to recover, so. Okay, then the next item Doug had wanted on the agenda to discuss and possible action on a full-time inspector. We had talked about an inspector early on when we were working on the strategic plan from McMahon and Associates, which is why it's under old business. So, Doug?
Yeah, Tyler's doing a great job. Tyler took another job that pays more. I do feel that one of the problems with this district that we've had forever is getting fire inspections timely done on a consistent basis. I could go back and look at the minutes going back a decade and see that it's always been a problem. It's one of the two big things that we've struggled with. So I do believe that we need to find some money in the budget somehow.
Actually, the state fees are supposed to be spent on, like fire inspection. Aren't they supposed to be?
The dues can include, as part of pay, the 2% dues can be, because it is considered, fire prevention and public education, so that can be used towards, salary for that.
And how much is the 2% dues bring into our budget?
Well, last year it was 35,000. Well, for this year it's 35,000. We won't know that, those numbers come out like next month, maybe?
After September.
Yeah, something like that.
So there was that we were waiting for them last year, so I think it was like more towards September that
Yeah.
they came out.
And we can, I was gonna pull the financials, because if you look, we've spent, part-time, salaries, we spent 1/3 of what's been budgeted, I think, I've gotta.
It looked like that to me also.
Yeah, so right now, we budgeted, $298,000 for part-time salaries, and we have
A third.
spent $95,000.
That's about a third.
Right, because Heather's been very careful about how she's scheduling. we schedule 3 people a day, or 2 people a day, it averages out to 3 people a day. People aren't wandering in and just working for a day anymore. She's very diligent about how we're scheduling. So, and we've told you repeatedly, we don't know where the budget's gonna be. It's gonna take us 2 years to get through the cycle, but we're already seeing savings in part-time salaries. So it would be feasible, I think, and you had an idea about how to schedule a person too.
Yeah, he would, the way I would think about doing it is whoever we have as a full-time inspector would be on shift for a day, so that would take one of the 3 spots. So we're not paying 3 people plus a full-time person to be here. And then they can either, if they want, they can either, the inspector can go out in 51 or whatever by themselves and then respond to a call and meet the engine there, or they can all go out together. It's, you know, but he would be, that person would be scheduled for the daytime shift.
Yeah, we'd have to check with Jim Macy, because right now we have that letter from Von Briesen and Associates indicating we shouldn't have a second full-time person because of the implications for Wisconsin retirement and health insurance and those sorts of things. So I think tonight, if we get
But
a,
doesn't Heather already get that stuff, doesn't she?
I get WRS,
Yes,
I
but
do
no.
not get health insurance.
Okay,
right, so,
Right.
but we'd have to talk to our attorney to get the okey-dokey to go ahead with this, based on, we'd have to look at the financial implications for the district. I think financially we can do it. Gary?
Two things. One thing, you can't count the fire dues. We're already spending the fire dues. It's not like money there, well, gee, what can we use this for? So that, you know, I might as well throw that out. And we have hired private firms to do fire inspections, and that didn't work any better than anything else.
that's why I think we need to have a full-time inspector.
Well, I'd
To be-
rather go with, like Heather says, you know, let the, you know, if they're here and they're not, I mean, you can only, and they're busy, I'm not trying to make it sound like they're not busy, but, you know,
I don't
see any reason
think,
why we can't bring
I-
somebody up to do this stuff,
I
rather
think
than
that-
hiring another full-time person.
that's not what I heard her say though. I heard her say that if we hired someone to be a full-time inspector, that would fill a spot here in the station, so therefore we wouldn't have 4 people, we would still have her and 2 other people. So it would, her, the fire inspector, and another person here at the station. It's like we have been doing, but that fire inspector would be out maybe with 51, driving around doing the inspections, and when they got a call, just meet up with the engine where they're supposed to go. That's the way I heard her say it.
It would be 3 plus me. So it would be like the 3 that I schedule now, plus me down here. So like right now, the people that I have 2 people that, I have 1 person for sure that has inspector certification. I have 1 that took the test, he's still waiting for his results. But they're only, like, the 1 is scheduled on Fridays only because he works another job. The other one's scheduled because I have to be careful of his hours, so he doesn't go over hours. If we made one of them full-time, he would get more hours here, but I can't guarantee the one that he would stay here once he was done with his 2-year degree. I don't know. You know, so I mean, we're still gonna have I think we're still gonna have turnover, depending on if they wanna go somewhere else, or if they wanna stay here. I don't know that. I can't answer for him.
So it seems like there's still an ongoing challenge, looking forward for even having part-time that are fire inspector certified. It's a challenge to get the scheduling and to get the people that are able to do it. You know, not just whether they have the hours to do it, but to make sure that we have a person that is able to do the job.
We had a person and we lost
Yeah,
him.
well, I understand.
We lost him.
Tyler left
Yeah.
for
And we
great
had one
opportunity,
before that,
but, yeah.
What?
We had one before that too, wasn't it? So, the guy that went to emergency, was doing a fire inspection before.
Paul Traverty used to, but that was.
Oh, yeah, he was
part-time.
part-time.
But he was.
Yeah, he was, yeah, he
Yeah, but
was.
you've gotta remember, here comes the finger. By law, by state statute, we're supposed to be doing it twice a year. It hadn't been done twice a year for 10 years. It was only being done once a year, and it wasn't being done completely either. That was a problem. As soon as I got put on the board, I got hauled in to the administrator's office and said, they're not completing the inspections prior to the tax bills being printed. That's fraud. You're charging people for a service they didn't get. We want to eliminate that.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with that, we could question something.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was only being done once a year. It's supposed to be done twice a year.
So,
Some, most of them, but yeah, most of them.
Most of them are twice a year, some
Right.
are
There's
one.
some, yeah,
And-
there's exceptions.
As I said, that's been a consistent problem for over a decade with this district. So having someone, even if they're only here for 1 or 2 years and they move on, as long as we can get someone to come in and fill that role and does a good job as an inspector, we gotta have someone in here to do that on a full-time basis. We can't just rely on a part-time person doing a couple of days a week. We're gonna fall behind.
Yeah.
We will.
Yeah. The other option we have, we don't need to make a decision tonight, but we could suggest that as you prepare the budget, you put in a full-time position for an inspector, and we take a look at that, because we now have 6 months worth of financials to see where we're going.
Ellen, you gonna check with the lawyer, son?
I'll check with Jim Mason.
Okay, thanks.
What was the problem with using like the fire inspection firms?
I don't know, you have to ask Gary.
I understand they're costly.
they're expensive, they're not cooperative. I mean, you pay them, and we had all kinds of complaints from them. They weren't getting the job done,
One of the
and
things.
they were making money.
Yeah,
I
that,
mean, more money than what.
I think for a variety of reasons, from an I'm talking as an old administrator here, is if you have this position, you have a position that could ultimately back her up. She has no one backing her up. Right now, she has Chief Clone to do administrative work, but that ends at the end of the year. The other issue is that as a department or as an organization, we should be training and growing our own succession. We should have a succession plan that grows our own future officers, grows our lieutenants, grows our captains, grows potential chiefs. And the third point I want to make is that this group, and the chiefs have done a good job rehabilitating the reputation of this district over the last year and a half. And the comments that I've gotten from the business community about how Tyler presented himself and did inspections was overwhelmingly positive. And they knew Ripon College called a lot to have him come in, especially with the Far Hall project. So in a sense, we are ensuring the future of fire protection for the people of this community, this district, in threefold. And that's why I agree with Doug, and I would argue that we do need a full-time position to do this. And that it is not necessarily a good idea to have a third party come in and do it. We've been trying, since I was working on budgets, and thank you very much, so I don't have to work on the budget this year. I was trying to pull things back that were outsourced and have the day crew do it, because they're here. They're here. When I started, we were doing a third party for hose testing. Those guys can do hose testing. There's no reason. And we can grow people, and maybe somebody who's an inspector will want to stay here because it's a positive environment, and we can maybe grow ourselves an officer.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just one question. All right, so let's say we hire a fire inspector.
Mhm.
Is that a full-time job for a person?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Tyler was busy all the time with it.
It's not just inspecting the buildings.
Right.
It's going and doing flow testing when a new business comes in, or a new sprinkler system goes in, or it's questions about, we have a question with the Boys and Girls Club right now, what kind of sprinkler system do you want us to put in? So I mean, it's not just the inspection part, it's different things that he was doing.
He spent a lot of time, I was here when he'd get multiple calls to go up to Far Hall.
And he could do fire prevention stuff,
Yeah.
work on that stuff and stuff around the station here.
Yeah.
There's something that could keep him busy.
But I've got in my mind, you hire a fire inspector, that's all he does is fire
Oh.
inspector.
Yeah.
And that's not what I'm for.
No.
You know,
That'd be 95% of the job
Right, yeah.
department, but the other 5% is gonna be.
We'd have
paid for
to, we'd
somewhere.
have to develop a job description because we would
fire
want,
call, you'd have to peel off the other part.
right, right.
Yeah.
Plus, we'd also want him to be able to do some backup work for her for ESO and things of those natures, because right now, she's doing all of the ESO. And what happens if something happens to her?
well, yeah, we always have backup, but,
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
but like Kevin's gonna be gone next year.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're gonna have to do a fire chief.
Mhm.
So now we have 2 more full-time people.
Not necessarily.
necessarily.
I would say if you surveyed this board right now, you might not have support for a full-time fire chief.
No, why not?
I would say
I'm
pretty
I'm
much
just
don't,
looking
yeah.
at, you know, it's just like buying an extra vehicle, it's fine for the day. but
Yep.
You're stuck with a damn thing for the rest of your life, you
Yep.
know? and-
I personally, I'm not in favor of a full-time chief.
I think it would be valuable, as been mentioned, that a fire inspector is a very visible position.
And Tyler was.
Very good, yes, and I
Yeah.
think
Definitely a face of the department.
if we could, clone him and have him come on full-time, we would all vote right now to do that, but I don't, I don't know. I think maybe what the goal is, or what the idea is right now, is that maybe we can look into the legality, we can look into the budget, we can see if it's feasible, first of all, within our confines, and then if it is feasible, then we can start to make that search, we can start to discuss the little details of how it's gonna work, and what does the job posting look like, or what is the breakdown of the hours, what is,
Yeah,
our
Job
scheduling and
duties
stuff.
and description
But
of the job, yeah.
in my mind, I think that the perfect person for it would be someone that's very much the face of the department and is able to go out and be knowledgeable. And I don't think you can get that in a part-time person, but if someone's responsibilities are split between their other job and the fire district, you just inherently have a conflict there versus having a full-time position, as the district gets to say, no, that this is it, this is your full-time, you've got to do everything you need.
So having part-time inspectors is fine. They're gonna help,
They can help it, yeah.
they're gonna help propel it forward. But I think we have to rely on, a couple of inspectors coming in a couple of days a week is not gonna get the job done ever.
No, and if we
Even
keep
if
them.
Tyler were able
Yeah.
to come up on a Friday more consistently, we still ain't gonna get the job done. I don't see how that's even possible.
Well, and Heather's really good about maintaining that they stay under that 1,200 hours on a rolling annual basis, so that we're not paying Wisconsin retirement. That's one of the hangups with part-time.
Right, so, once we get the okay, and we find the room in the budget, I think we ought to really bear down on making a decision on that and getting something going, because I really feel we really have to have it. I think this is a need, not a want.
I think checking with the lawyer and figuring out the budget, I think then it comes down to what do you all want this person to do? So I think that's what you guys need to think about, is what do you want to see this person in this position do? So that if you guys do decide to go, then we're ready to do a job description kind of a thing.
So, we don't have to take action tonight if you're all good with, I'll call Jim Macy. I don't know if it's around this week because it's 4th of July week. But we can certainly have Kevin and Heather work on the budget and see how that goes, and we can talk about it. We probably want to look at a draft budget in August, so we can look at it then. You okay with that, Gary?
I am.
Okay. All right, so one of the things we've asked Kevin and the command team to look at is review and possible action on fire fees. I like to do this pre-budget so that we have an idea of what our revenues will be. I've always been, I don't know why counties and municipalities do it after. I don't get that. But, so they handed out some stuff. I don't know who wants to take this.
I'll just kind of talk about how we got there, and then if Chief Howitz and Heather want to talk about the draft form that we have here. But what I did was I researched, I think it was 5 or 6 communities of like size, and kind of just downloaded and took a look at their fee structure and compared them to what the fire fees were in those communities and the ones here. And really, there weren't a lot of differences. There was a few that we were a little low on, so we, based on average of the other communities, we just bumped it up, but not a lot. You know, we're not talking a ton of money, but the biggest change was, and Heather had this idea, you know, last year, was to change the fees for inspections by square footage of buildings and basically their size. So it added, was it two more areas? 3 more square footage of buildings versus.
Like the 65 and the 130 and the 260. The feedback I've gotten from businesses is that although some of the costs went up this year, they were actually being inspected.
Yeah.
So they were happy.
good,
They
yeah.
were happy to pay that because they were being inspected.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yes,
most
Mark?
of most of the buildings that I looked, or the other communities I looked at, that fee structure and what Heather came up with was pretty similar. There was a few odds and ends that were, you know, more or less, but these were almost identical to the other communities that I looked at, so.
I just have a note, whenever we're talking about, you know, fees and adjusting, when was the last time, do we know the last time that the fees had been
They've been adjusted
looked at?
this would be the 3rd year.
Okay.
They were adjusted for 2022, they were 2021, they were adjusted for 2022. And then they were, last year we adjusted again, McMahon and Associates made a recommendation to adjust. And Heather noticed that there were some difficulties with that because there was a lack of equity for
There's a pretty big
size.
jump from the first step into the second step.
Yeah.
Right.
I can see that being
Right.
a.
And so that's why she was recommending that these other amounts be added, because it wasn't surprising. A lot of people who had been charged $65 in the past were then being charged $350, and we're like, oh, whoa, whoa. So,
Yeah.
so this would bring it down for some people.
Yeah, so it's-
Did we look at the overall annual revenue? Does it change
I
what?
did not look at that.
Can you look at it when you're working on the budget with him?
Sure, sure.
Because we'd have to adjust the revenue. If the revenue goes down, we'll have to compensate for that somewhat.
I can do that, I can go through the spreadsheet.
Are there any changes in what you're proposing for response fees or?
The only things that we changed, well, was, they'll have an inspection, which is whatever the amount is per their square footage. And then their re-inspect would be no charge.
Mhm.
But then their second re-inspect, if we have to go back, technically would be like the third time overall. We're proposing a $65 fee for that.
So this is after the 2 inspections, and then you get a first re-inspection?
Okay, no, you put, so they go out and they inspect, they
Mhm.
find something wrong, so they go, okay, we're gonna come back and re-inspect.
Oh,
That
okay.
re-inspect is free, but then if they still haven't fixed it, they have to go back that
Okay.
second re-inspect time, then we would charge them $65.
So then
It's
it
kind of
would
an
be,
incentive to get it done first.
so if they don't don't fix it the first time, you go back, and then there's a second inspection later in the year, and
No, no.
Usually
So
if they
like-
find a defect, they immediately schedule a
Right, so like-
re-inspection.
So like,
Okay.
so like Tyler went out, he did an inspection, and then he's like, you have this violation, we'll be back in 15 days.
okay.
So he went back in 15 days, and they still hadn't fixed it. So he's like, okay, I'm coming back, so that one would be free. Then he's like, okay, I'll be back in another 15 days, and then if he went back again and they still didn't fix it, it would be $65.
Okay,
Because then he's gonna have to go back another time.
okay. So then, on the hourly fee schedule, you've got first engine and,
Yep, so that's like if there's an intentionally set fire, we charge them for what we take out there. And, the other municipalities that he had looked up, their fees were like more than what we upped ours to. And then instead of doing the second engine at 90, we just, then we decided we were just gonna get rid of that second engine.
You just said one
You
charge.
you charge one, the
Charge,
same,
yes.
the same rate for every engine.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, instead of having, and then, the tender hours, we moved up like $20 per. And then, we didn't know what the CO team per hour was, so we'd like to remove that. We have no idea what CO is. C-O, it's not
Yeah, well,
CO
I'm
team.
sure, and it's something with carbon monoxide, but that's, you would
We
typically
would-
go on a regular call anyway, so
Right,
it isn't,
so there's
yeah,
no-
it's just,
We
it's
don't-
not anything special.
Carryout team.
Carryout team, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't,
Go with that.
I'm not really sure, we're not really sure where that thing came in, so we're X-nay. We'd like to remove that fee.
fire alarm final occupancy approval, you wanna change that up to 100?
Right, because Tyler went out and did one, and he said, I literally walked in the building, took 2 steps, could see the whole building, and turned around, walked back out, and he goes, at the time, he goes, I don't feel like they should be charged $100, so he was like, I think 50 would be inadequate, so we kind of want to make it, not like per square footage, but per what we have to do, kind of a thing, how much work and how much time it takes.
Discretion of the inspector.
Yeah, discretion of the inspector, is kind of how we like it.
So those are, that's not too many changes,
No.
really.
No,
Is there a motion to approve the change in fire fees for the 2025 budget?
I just have a question. Special event fire watch, is
Yep.
that $30 per man hour?
It-
And on fire calls, you have it at $16.50 per man hour?
Mhm.
So I'm just curious as to why those aren't matching, because it's still.
Fire watch is, like, we had an assisted care facility, their alarm system went down, so we had to be on clock, around the clock, to sit, and we had to walk the building every hour to make sure that there's no fire, there's no hazard, there's no, and so that's the fee it's always been, it was like $30 for somebody to go do that, because the one night we did it up at one of the assisted care facilities, it was 2 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the morning was a shift. And so you're up all night and you're just constantly walking that building.
And that's extra hours
Right.
that you aren't scheduling otherwise, so
Right.
generally you'd think that the fee needs to be higher to help
Yeah.
offset
It's-
that.
It kind of makes them fix their alarm system a lot faster. I guess.
Yeah, 'cause if you need 4 people to walk, like Scott Hall, one person could never do that.
in an hour. The assisted care facility, literally, I did it, and I walked the facility, and I got to stop for 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh, my hour starts back up again.
Yeah, way to go.
See her walk.
So yeah, we can change it, if you guys wanna put it back, but that's.
And you could actually be on fire watch for days until you get somebody to fix the alarm.
What special events are those?
Dickens, Ripon Fest,
Okay,
Fireworks.
fireworks.
that was the one that I immediately thought of with it being so close. Okay, just that was a question.
Yeah, they do burn barrels at Dickens.
We used to do September Fest. But that's-
There is no more September Fest. So is there a motion to approve the revised fee schedule?
I'll make a motion to approve the revised fee schedule.
Thank you, Mark. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Tom. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Is there any board discussion or communication? Okay, for the next agenda, I'll put the bylaws on. And a draft budget, and then a subset of that will be a further inspector discussion. Is there anything else? Yes, sir.
Ellen, was there, I thought there was a discussion last time about possibly incorporating the emergency ambulance service.
Yeah, that was kind of a notification. The city hasn't done
Oh, that's-
anything on that yet.
Okay.
But you know what though, Tom? If on our next agenda, if they bring forward an RFP for the council to approve, I'll put it on the agenda here. Because maybe we'll get a timeline. I mean, we don't know anything. We know as much as you do.
Thank you.
Okay, make a note. Next meeting is August 6th. Oh, hey, so we had changed our meetings when Jolene was here to accommodate the election. Is it okay if we still have our meetings on Tuesdays? Because you all can vote before you come.
I agree.
Okay. You okay, Jonathan, with that? Okay, all right. Okay, all those, is there a motion to adjourn?
I still know.
Thank you, Sam. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you,
Sorry
Gary.
about that. I'll back up.
You got it.
Okay, I'm gonna say I didn't do as well as Jonathan, but it is 8:07. Probably the shortest meeting I've ever chaired here. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.